Hey guys, what's going on? All right, got a few videos, compilation of videos again, just the conspiracy theories type thing. Anyway, just remember, guys, these videos are for entertainment purposes only. This is my mother here. This is her first time on, so she's really never seen any of these videos, I don't think. Is that right?
Right,
Okay.
nothing.
So this is Thanksgiving Day, so
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
yeah.
Hope you all had a great meal and nice family get togethers.
Yeah, it's coming to an end. But anyway, all right, guys. So let's just get into this one right here. This is about 2 minutes, I think. So here we go.
Proof that governments around the world are hiding sacred land masses from the public. Now, this is the last man to explore Antarctica. His name is Richard E. Byrd, an American naval officer. And after his expedition in 1954, he went on public television and listened to what he had to say.
Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans? But strangely enough, there's
I'll just pause it. This is obviously from like the probably 50s, 60s or something. I'm
60,
not
I
sure.
think he said.
Okay. So yeah, but anyway, we'll see exactly what he's saying.
left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America.
Now, this map is associated with the flat Earth model, with Antarctica being the giant ice wall around the landmass that we know. And it's incredibly interesting that United Nations chose the flat Earth map as their logo. You can't write this shit. And even more interesting, after Admiral Byrd's expedition.
So yeah.
So, so the theories is that we're
So,
in a
of course,
sphere.
we've been told our whole lives and by all the governments and NASA that, of course, it's a round globe, that
That
the
we're,
Earth is
we're
constantly spinning.
spherical.
And that it's constantly spinning around, always. And that the moon and the stars and everything are floating around in space, basically. So, up until a little over a month ago, I was watching these types of videos, and I believe it was a girl on here, and she was talking about something called the firmament. And I've mentioned this in my other videos like this, guys, so you know the story. But I had never heard that word before in my life. If I have, I mean, I didn't pay attention to it, didn't know what it meant. So, I'm thinking they're on something. I don't know what they're even talking about. But then they start quoting scriptures, and so that makes me kind of perk up my ears a little bit. So I started really paying attention, and I just went right to the Bible and looked it up. It's right there in Genesis. I believe it's 1:7. Says God created a firmament, which is basically a dome, a ceiling over the earth. So had you ever heard of the firmament before?
I have heard the word.
Okay, but did you?
Again, not knowing.
Okay.
Just I've heard the word.
Right. That's
That's it.
I mean, I
Not
might have
knowing.
heard the word, but like
Yeah.
I say, I don't really remember. But I know I never ever thought that there was a dome covering us or anything. I've always been told through school. You've always been told through school. Everybody is being taught through school, especially now that there's planets, there's other worlds, there's all this cosmic stuff out there. But so this is, and we see this guy said that the UN flag,
It's
or
flat.
right, it's a picture of a flat Earth, and it looked like the other one was as well.
Well, let me ask you a
Yeah.
question. What's the significance of our Earth being round?
So
What?
I don't
Why
really
are we
know.
being
I
taught
don't.
this
I
if
mean
it's
the.
actually?
So I don't know what the real reason is. From what I read, like in the 1700s, it seems like somebody that was, I guess, not a believer, an atheist or a believer of a different type of religion, they started to push this round globe theory, and that just kind of took off, and just another way to probably deny God's
Right.
creation, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just to deny the Bible, guys, I really don't really remember the year or the person that started this. Let me know in the comments, of course. But it seems like it was about 17 or 1800s that I read this kind of theory. Really, they took it and ran with it, and this has been the case ever since. This has really been taught to everybody since then. And I got to say, they did a wonderful job deceiving us, because I mean, I would never have even questioned this kind of thing. We're told from the beginning about planets, outer space. Of course, we've seen the moon landing, supposedly. Funny that there's no stars behind it or anything. It's just a big black screen. I guess that's what happens when you do it in a studio. But anyway, I never really bought that anyway. Not that I had a theory that the earth wasn't round or anything. I just didn't really think that was possible. You see some dude walking with a flag, he's like floating around. That just never really looked real anyway to me. But definitely didn't know any of this. So
Well, again, I'm just wondering
why they're trying it.
why
The only thing, yeah,
the planets,
why you come up
Saturn,
with it.
Jupiter, Mars,
Yeah,
Uranus.
by the way, and I mentioned it, those are all named after false gods, pagan gods of different religions, that have nothing to do with Christianity. Of course, I'm sure that's not a coincidence at all.
Absolutely
But,
not.
but
Probably another way, like you said, just to
just to
deny
spit in the face
our
of this.
Creator,
Right.
just to deny that God
Created the earth.
created
the way He did.
every single thing.
Yeah, so just the way, I mean, that's all I can think of, really. I mean, otherwise, why wouldn't you just go with how it's been taught? And there's other videos, this might get into it, but of maps from like the 1500s and stuff. All of them show a flat Earth. It's none of the round spheres that we see as a globe or anything nowadays. All of them are on maps. It's a flat surface every time. So let's just keep getting into the video here.
Something to think about, guys.
Yeah.
We know. And it's incredibly interesting that United Nations chose the Flat Earth map as their logo. You can't write this shit. And even more interesting, after Admiral Byrd's expedition, the entire world's governments came together and made a treaty on Antarctica. Literally the only place the entire world agrees on. And decided that if anyone was to go explore there, they would be met with military. Why? Now, when you go inside the George W. Bush Airport, it depicts a flat Earth map, the Tree of Life, and then the dome over the top. And you can see there's extra land masses here as well. And some of the oldest maps in our history are flat Earth maps. Here's another one. And here's one that was made over 10 centuries ago. And you can see all the extra land masses outside of the ice wall. Byrd also said that Antarctica was a giant ice wall. And it should come as no surprise, as literally every ancient culture and society knew the real shape of this earth and what was really going on, except for us. Now I'm sick of all these lies, and I challenge you to seek.
NASA's the only one that shows a globe. Out of all these different societies, religions, they're all flat. Everybody agrees through history that the earth is flat until, well, I don't want to say till NASA came along, because they haven't been around for, from the 17 or 1800s. I mean, they were created in the 1900s, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so they just, of course, took it and ran with it. And, so this is, I don't know, guys. So
And NASA means.
So I've seen a video. I mean, apparently in Hebrew, NASA means the words to deceive. So I mean, I don't know that for sure. I've seen it in a video. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. But yeah, they're doing crazy things. And the reason, I've seen other videos, guys, you can do your own research. The reason that there's military lined up on the Antarctic line or circle or whatever he was mentioning about Antarctica, nobody can get past a certain point. You're met with military force, you're stopped. So something's on the other side of that wall, apparently, and they're keeping it from us. So there we go. So let's let it play out.
Scary thought.
5 seconds left.
The truth, peace, and love.
Yeah, that's it. All right. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that video in general? I mean, we kind of discussed it, I guess.
Yeah, but really mind blowing. And just the fact that every single one of us who has attended school, no matter private, public, Christian, we're all taught.
Yeah, I can't speak to the Christian schools. Maybe they do teach the earth being flat. I have no idea. But
you went to a Christian school, a year or two, but that wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, this was high school years. So I mean, that I don't know that they were teaching the Earth thing at that point. I
Yeah.
don't know, but anyway, yeah. All I know is I've always been taught about the solar system. So different planets, space. I mean, sounds like to me that was all just made up. So
Well, and again, just another way
to
to
deny God,
manipulate,
yeah, of course, everybody, everything.
everyone. And what a great job they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to take your hat off to them on that one. That's a job well done. I'm sure they're happy with themselves.
But we now, this day and time, people, we need to be aware of every single thing.
You can never find truth. All you can do is find false, drop it and get rid of it. And eventually, when you can't get rid of any more false, what you're left with is the truth. How much false can you find? And there's lots in history. And I was looking around the internet and came across the images of the 1893 Chicago World Exposition. And it blew my mind because it looked like ancient Rome in the middle of downtown Chicago. And as I looked at it further, well, here's another one in Philadelphia. Here's another one in St. Louis, in Buffalo, in San Francisco. And then as soon as they were done, they tore.
So, just do you know what he's saying here?
No.
Okay. So, it says right there, Chicago is the true ancient Rome. All right. So, Rome, if you remember, in everything we've ever been told or read about, it's got these, giant castles and things like,
Empires
right?
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Tore them all down and threw them in the garbage. That
So basically, what this is saying is, well, I'll explain it more.
just told me there's something wrong with all of these. The story of the expositions is a gigantic lie. And I think it's so huge of a lie because I think they're right at a bridge point when so many things about the 1800s that seem strange and weird, right as this sort of period ends of unbelievable strangeness, and all of a sudden these fairs spring up all over the world with impossible buildings we're talking about, which are colossal structures. Chicago built 700 acres of fair in supposedly less than 2 years.
Okay. So in the early 1900s, late 1800s, whatever, they're saying that Chicago built this in 2 days or something. This is how Chicago looked, supposedly. We have pictures of Chicago that looking like this. But this guy is saying that these things were here thousands of years before that. This is not really Chicago, that this was really in Rome. So we're not, basically what he's saying is that the things we see as Chicago and he get like St. Louis and everything, they say this, that it was these world tours and they built all this stuff very quickly for an expedition for people coming in as like a fair, a world fair.
I went to the St. Louis World Fair.
So yeah,
not in
at that time, of course.
1904,
Yeah,
but
so-
we were.
Right. So what he's saying is that these places are, he's saying that basically, I think that we're not really in a place called America, basically. He's saying that we're in Rome and they've, they pulled up to these places and these temples, these things, these buildings were already there for thousands of years and stuff. They didn't build this in a few days, of course.
No, it did a couple of years.
Okay, well,
I
even
think.
so, but I mean,
Well, Rome was.
Lewis built 1,200 acres of exposition buildings. One of the buildings in Chicago, the manufacturer's building, would house 300,000 people. There's a giant statue in the middle of the lagoon. It was called the Golden Lady, and it was known as the Statue of the Republic. It was 65 feet tall. They say it was covered in gold leaf that had copper underneath, but others speculate it was actually made out of solid gold. So you're talking 65-foot high, potentially solid gold statue. We're talking giant structures and looking like ancient Rome with towers and domes and columns and the most fine, ornate pieces to them in these record, unbelievable times. Then as soon as they're done, chuck them in the garbage. Like Jackson Park is a...
So of course Chicago doesn't look like that now. He's saying that they tore it down immediately after the World Fair was over in the early 1900s. So,
right.
because to start over, to make it look like, to start over is like, hey, this is this place called Chicago, but they used it for the World Fair because it was already there. It was already built up. It was this amazing looking place that could house a lot of people, could hold a lot of people for this party or whatever that they're having. So it's really Rome is what he's saying. So he's saying that it's BS, I think. And guys, I'm not for sure on this. Maybe I'm missing something in these videos. Let me know. He's saying that I guess that we're really in Rome. We're not in a place called the United States, I don't think, is what he's saying. So I don't know.
Okay, I don't
So,
know if I get that or
but
not.
let's keep watching.
swamp. So supposedly they had to drive down tens of thousands of wooden stakes in order to support the weight of everything. They dug out massive lagoons, lakes. They had a canal system that ran through the entire exposition. They also had an above-ground electric train. An electric train, well, where's the electricity coming from? That's running around the park. They had a moving walkway down by the shore. Not enough people are asking, where does this technology come from?
Just to frame it, if I'm not mistaken, the Chicago
This is the early 1900s.
Yeah,
They didn't
now
have
where
anything.
did that?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so just wait. Just listen.
Fair was the first time people had seen electric light.
Tesla's the one who got the electricity contract for the...
So Nikola Tesla was a
Tesla.
right, yeah.
Is that the car?
I'm not sure if it's named after him. It could be, but just listen to what it says. This was a guy that was an engineer, I guess, and he was very smart. So listen to what's about to come up.
Chicago Exposition, and it was certainly more than all of the lights anyway that were in New York City at the time were at the Chicago Exposition.
Now, it must have been mind-blowing for most of those people who had only seen gaslight or candlelight at night to see that city lit up in such a way. Again, count the ways. It's 1901. We are told, whether it's true or not, the idea of being able to electrically do anything hasn't been around that long.
And this fair is bizarre. This is supposed to be Tesla's fair, where he managed to somehow move electricity from Niagara Falls to Buffalo for the fair. No one's really explained how he actually did that. And at the middle of the fair is a 395-foot-high electrical tower, on top of which, of course, is a female golden statue called the Goddess of Light. And this thing was lit up by some suggest 500,000 electric light bulbs. Again, when you look at the photos of this thing, it's just, where did they really get the power from?
I mean, think of what it would take today if you had a place with no electricity and no way to pipe it in. The generators.
How did all this electricity come through this place, especially at this time? They're saying that would be very difficult now with all the technology we have. So in this time, it would literally be somewhat impossible. So just keep watching.
But did that, that actually happened?
Apparently, because, they have supposed pictures of the Chicago World Fair with all this stuff lit up like this.
Well,
So, yes, electricity was around at the time, but how was it used
how was
to
it
light this whole
powered?
place?
How
Right.
was it
All right,
powered?
so keep listening and we'll get into more.
That would have to be built.
For example, there's a building that went up for the Barcelona exposition in 1888. It was claimed to be the fastest built building in the world. 5,000 square meters, capacity for 2,000 guests, 600 rooms, 30 apartments, and it was supposed to be built in 53 days. This is supposed to be...
He's saying there's no way something like that could be built that fast. So how would it not be? So he's saying this is Rome. These buildings are already there, is what he's saying, because Rome, as we know, was had a lot of these kind of looking places like this. So keep listening. It turns into something more.
be a time of horse and buggy. The 2-year building times are actually impossible unless the two most likely theories would be either A, they had a technology that they're not supposed to have, and it really was built in that time frame. Even if they built them, they had to build them out of marble and stone in record time, or the buildings were already there. They'd been there for hundreds or thousands of years, fixed up, refurbished, repainted, hence the term whitewashed, which is the term that was used for the Chicago Exposition, which was paint all the buildings with this brand new spray paint that they had just developed.
Made them look different a little bit, just to make it seem like they weren't already there for a while, to make it look like they were just built. But keep listening.
They paint all the buildings in record time, so you couldn't tell if anything was old or anything was new.
How long did these things tend to stay open? When they built these things, supposedly over 2 years, which is the narrative, how long were they there for?
About 6 months.
6 months for the public to come.
And then what was amazing, for example, in St. Louis, 2 days after the fair ended, they brought in a demolition team from Chicago with explosives and blew the thing up. They actually used dynamite to blow it up, and they say threw it in landfills. The things like the World Fairs shows there was a time in our past, and even not that far in our past, where humans seem to be at a completely higher level. Human living and human knowledge were constructed into the buildings using cymatics, using sacred geometry. These fairs, they're so important to study because the history that we know right now as history was invented at the time these fairs were going on. One of their underlying nefarious purposes was to teach a historical narrative to the population that they were supposed to believe and agree with. And scarily, the world we're walking into today is in some way, has its origins during the time of, you can never find truth.
That's it. So we're going to get into another video that follows that one. There's another part to that that's a variant that really kind of explains what the purpose of why they're tearing it down. So, all right. Well, okay. So guys, I'm sorry that was the end of that video, but I thought it had the last part of it, which I have seen. I'm sure you've seen it too, but there's another part to, or maybe it's just a separate video, but the guy explains that, Nikola Tesla was going to reveal this energy plan to energize, to give electricity to the world. And here's the thing, it was going to be free.
Really?
So
that was a big shutdown.
Yeah. So people wouldn't be able to charge you for electricity to, to energize your home, energize whatever. So, they cut that off real quick. So that could explain why this stuff was torn down and, why they kind of started over to where they never revealed any of this. So,
but gosh, but the expense, the expense of tearing it down,
but take that up against how much you can make from charging people every month, every whatever for power. And look at where we are now on that. So
now I wonder if that Tesla has anything to do with the car.
Know. It could be an ancestor of his. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense because it's an electric car, right? Yeah. So I really don't know. I don't know about cars, guys. So anyway, yeah, I guess that's it for these videos for today. Might get into some more at some point. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these. If you want more stuff like this, if you got any suggestions, let me know. So
please comment. Please comment.
Yeah, so just comment, share, like, subscribe, get people over here. So anyway, just come join the family. God's Mafia. I'm out.